This chapter was not what I was expecting, but what a delight it was. Hello my Nakamatachi, this is JoyGirl with a review of chapter 995 of One Piece titled Akuno Ichi's Oath. And this chapter, or chapter review rather, is actually quite special. Not just because of the rare focus we got on some of the female characters of our beloved series, but today's review marks the 6-month anniversary of this channel. And what a 6 months it has been. I love all the engagement and discussions I've been able to have with everyone, and thank you all so much for tuning in to a crazy One Piece fan. To anyone who hasn't subscribed, I do welcome you to do so, especially because I am just off the 2,000 subscriber mark, and who doesn't like a nice big round number? With that being said, let's go into the chapter review. So after the end of the last cover story, we are back to Oda drawing some fan requests, and these are always fun. This one especially feels very relatable to me because I am coming very close to my own uni exam period, and instead of studying, I have spent most of my time thinking or talking One Piece. Which in my opinion is time well spent, but I'm not too sure my markers will share the same feeling. Anyways, onto the chapter itself. We had a very female focused chapter, which is quite unexpected, and so it was very refreshing. I hope we get to see more of this in the chapters to come, with more female characters being developed throughout each chapter. The biggest surprise in my opinion was the appearance of Otama. I was genuinely stunned by her presence, which Oda snuck in right at the end of the chapter. I mean, I was expecting someone to come and save Nami and Usopp, but just had no idea it would be this little aspiring kunoichi. And of course, I loved it. I mean, so hype. Her devil fruit power and how particularly handy it would be against the beast pirates is something that the community has been discussing ever since it was introduced, and now it raises even more speculations of the role she will play in the war. Also, as you may know already, I find Tama absolutely adorable, so I can't wait to see more of her. Even in this chapter with her entrance, such a bold and demanding order coming from such a tiny girl sitting atop a giant Komachio was just so delightfully cute. It also does raise some questions and speculations, starting with the most glaring one of where did she come from? The last we saw of her, she returned to the Amagasa village after traveling with the group that freed Luffy from the Udon prisons. So how did she get to Onigashima? Nami and Usopp were equally surprised to see her, so who knew and helped her get across to the battleground? There are also now further questions of just how effective her devil fruit powers are going to be in this war, and how she's going to be used for plot purposes. The well-suited matchup of her abilities seemed to be a way too convenient way to wrap up the fight against the beast pirates, though mind you, I would thoroughly enjoy small little Tama lead a massive crew of pirate-turned-pets. Will Tama's ability play a role in taming Kaido? And that's the biggest question, right? I guess there are some ways around this. For example, it will be difficult for Tama to affect Page 1 or Ulti, both of whom wear masks around their mouth. So maybe this will lead to a lengthened fight against these Tobiroppo, this time with Nami and Usopp helping Tama land a dango in their mouths. And this could be the Straw Hat's way of securing a victory against much physically stronger opponents. I mean, I can totally picture Usopp making use of his sniper prowess to shoot a Kibidango into one of the Tobiroppo's mouths. Maybe rip through their masks too, unveiling their hidden and secret mouths. Now that would be a treat. Speaking of Nami and Usopp, before Tama arrived it was becoming quite clear that these two weakest members of the Straw Hat crew weren't able to do much damage against the Tobiroppo. But instead, they both seem to have suffered lots of damage, hinted to be the result of Ulti's trademark headbutts. The focus on female characters became quite clear at this point, where Page 1 featured in the chapter maybe just a handful of times, whereas Ulti got all the spotlight against both Usopp and Nami. It seems like Ulti didn't even need Page 1's help escaping the Venus flytrap based on his comment, and being Ulti, she just wanted him to engage with her. There's even a little love heart floating around her as if she was just flattered that her sibling saved her. Whilst the previous time we witnessed Ulti's headgun, I thought it was sick. And don't get me wrong, I still do. It's a funny and yet powerful attack that speaks so much about Ulti's character. But this time, I just felt so bad for Usopp and Nami. I could personally feel the pain in the panel showing Usopp's skull cracking, and it really took me back to Alabasta when Usopp was being hammered by Mr. Four. The close-up to Usopp's eyes tearing up in fear of receiving another headbutt, ouch. This is the only headbutt that we do actually witness though, because it seems most of the fight has taken place off-panel in typical Oda fashion. By the time we reach them, Nami and Usopp are already badly beaten up. Cutting straight away to Nami, who's also terrified of another attack, it's actually amazing that both of these two are still alive. I mean, Luffy was able to withstand the attack because, well, he's Luffy and he could also coat his head with haki, but these two, I'd say they were goners for sure. And this is a fact that they're both quite aware of, because when Ulti demands that Nami admit that Luffy will not become the Pirate King, threatening her with another headbutt, Usopp encourages Nami to lie to say whatever to get themselves out of this mess. And who could blame him? After witnessing the headbutt's effect on Usopp, I was terrified to see how Nami would take it. So even though a part of me knew that Nami would stay true to her captain, I was still so shocked at her awesome show of resolve. I actually felt chills as Nami declared that Luffy will become the King of Pirates, with tears in her eyes because she knew she had just sealed her own fate. I mean, what character growth. It really brought me back to a scene earlier on in the arc where the two were discussing the possibility of Law's heart pirates being the ones to sell out the Alliance whilst in captivity. Both of them admitted that they would betray the Alliance without much hesitation if their lives were at stake, and yet when it came down to it, Nami sticks by her captain and crew, and it was just such a beautiful moment. It was also reminiscent of Belle-Mère choosing to stick by her belief that Nami and Nojiko are her daughters, even when it meant her death. So even if Nami wasn't able to display her strength in a physical sense in this chapter, this was a very defining and powerful moment that shows Nami's development, and it's just nice to acknowledge that strength isn't all about brawns. In saying that, this chapter, however, did certainly contain a lot of raw physical strength. The focus on female characters wasn't the only recurring element in chapter 995. We saw a lot of bodies being held up in the air. Ulti's head and upper body being snatched up into Komachiyo's mouth, whilst her lower body dangling was karma for when she was grabbing Nami up in the air. Which, to be fair, I guess may have been payback for when Usopp had Ulti caught in his Venus flytrap. It's a very useful way to show the sizes of different characters. I mean, for example, I didn't expect Ulti to look so big until she was up against average Hoob and Nami. And we see this choke / manhandling, or rather a case of woman handling in this chapter, of Mako by Big Mom. Big Mom again looks terrifying in this chapter, especially as she reaches out and grabs Mako by the neck. Her hand looks massive. I'd say even bigger than Mako's face, and so again it really puts into perspective how giant some of these characters are. I mean, Mako isn't small by any means, so for Big Mom to so easily grab him like that, we get to understand her raw strength. And the interaction between Big Mom and Mako is actually how the chapter opened. Despite their somewhat amicable conversation last time we saw them, they have since engaged in battle, and so again another instance of the battle happening off-panel. We only see tiny glimpses of action after it had already started. Mako comments that he does need to stop Big Mom as he knows just how dangerous she is. And I wonder what he means by this. Is his knowledge based on stories he heard from Whitebeard? Or have the two Yonko crews gone head to head in the past? Based on what Perospero says that he had wanted to kill Mako in the past, it does seem like they have battled before, perhaps even many times. So I hope we hear more about their past history if that is the case. And whilst Mako finds himself in this predicament, stuck in Big Mom's clutch right in the firing line of Perospero, before this, he showed us his own abilities as his unique flames were able to damage Prometheus. This has me excited for his possible future fights that we will hopefully get to see. My hopes for him fighting against King, another flame-using flying combatant, has raised even more after this comment. But in order for him to continue fighting, he does need saving. And this was achieved, again by some girl power. The appearance of Carrot and Wanda was a nice surprise. Not so much the fact that they came to Marco's aid, because I was expecting Carrot to show up when I saw Marco taking on the Charlotte mother and son, but I wasn't expecting Wanda. It does make sense, however, because I was thinking that Carrot, even in her Sulong form, may not be strong enough backup to take down the Emperor and her commander. It's also nice to see Wanda get more focus because I quite enjoyed her character in Zou and her relationship with the young Mink. You could really sense Carrot's fury in the large panel featuring the attack on Perospero. Her facial expression just gave me chills, and the slashes on Perospero's face in the next panel felt quite visceral. I feel like we're getting a bit more gore in One Piece than usual, and personally, I'm someone who actually quite likes seeing the brutal aspects of battle, so I did enjoy seeing this impact on Perospero's creepy face. Just in a recent video discussing possible future Straw Hat candidates, I mentioned the lack of focus on Carrot in Wano, so it's nice to see so many panels featuring her as well as Wanda, who is included in some of these. She really hasn't been developed much since Whole Cake Island, and I would be interested to see where her arc carries her in Wano. Big Mom tries using this diversion of the Sulongs, whom Marco have seemingly only just met, to slip by and join the real battle. It's an interesting comment that she makes. In the official translation, she says that she doesn't have any more souls to spare against Marco. And I wonder if that implies limitations to how many souls that can be used. Perhaps the more she makes, the less effective they are? Or maybe the nature of Marco's flames means the souls aren't effective against him anyways. Where even are her souls and what are they doing? The Sulong Minks assure Marco that he can go to chase Big Mom, who seems to be heading towards the live stage where screams about the Ice Oni can be heard. And so it seems that this is where Marco will be heading off to. Which is a big relief because another doctor would be of much help right now. Especially as we find this chapter that Chopper has been infected. No! Noticing the fact that Brook seems to be immune from the virus, Chopper was actually about to say what he thinks the virus is before he was cut off by Robin, who noticed his infection. My theory is that this virus is heat-based, considering that Chopper noticed that it spread as the body chills, perhaps internally. And if that is the case, maybe Marco won't even need to develop an antidote, and his flames may actually just work as a cure. What do you think the infection is, and how do you think it could be cured? Please let me know by leaving a comment below. Just as an aside, I do wish Robin got more of a focus in this chapter considering how all the other females did, but I do understand there are limitations of time and pages, and I suppose there isn't much she could do in this situation, so her spotting Chopper's infection before it got too late is an achievement that I'll just have to take for now. But please, more Robin in the future. Anyways, the hour time limit feels even more dire now considering our Straw Hat Doctor is in danger. Luckily, we do have our trusty Zoro off chasing a poo for the antidote. Can you imagine if Zoro actually got his hands on the antidote, but then got lost on the way back? I did enjoy the segment of a poo getting chased. I mean, I felt really bad for the beast pirates who were just begging a poo for the antidote, but at the same time, these are the same pirates who would probably inflict the same torture on the Alliance if they didn't have to suffer it too. It's really a dog-eat-dog world mentality that's present within Kaido's crew, which is also evident in Apu, who refuses to help out his comrades because that would seal his own death. Apu has actually been very impressive this arc. He went toe-to-toe against Kid a little earlier in this arc, and now he is fighting against not only Zoro, but also Drake in a tag team attack. We saw Drake transforming in and out of his human and hybrid forms this chapter, which is a pretty interesting thing and makes me wonder about Drake's fighting style. But most interesting from this segment I found was the comments made by Queen. He notes that Zoro and Sanji are the second and third best fighters, and I imagine he means this out of the Straw Hat crew. It's intriguing what this implies, seeing as Queen did witness Jinbei in the full Straw Hat lineup, and it's also not even clarified whether Queen actually means only out of the Straw Hats. And even more interesting is the revelation that Queen seems to know the Vinsmoke family. Considering that Queen is an inventor himself, I think it's very likely he has some history with Judge and perhaps even Vegapunk. The reappearance of the Vinsmoke family is something that I would love to see, even if it is just by flashback. It's also worth mentioning that we get a tiny update on Luffy and his bodyguards of Sanji and Jinbei, who continue their task of getting their captain up to the rooftop. Not so much because it reveals anything about this trio specifically, but we do get to see another Smile user. Continuing his trend of introducing us to weird gifters, here's another one straight out of Oda's gallery. This one is a human with Panda Man scrotum, or is it the other way around because it seems like Panda Man looks more dominant than the Beast Pirate himself. And on that wildly perplexing note, this brings us to the end of the chapter review. Please let me know what you thought of this chapter by leaving a comment below. Please also like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. There will be a new chapter next week, so lots to look forward to, and I hope to continue the One Piece discussion with you all until then. This is JoyGirl, and I'll see you again soon.